Democratic.org. I'm Amy Goodman. Yes, we are breaking with convention, war, peace, and the presidency. We're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, covering the Democratic National Convention inside and out, from the streets to the convention floor. On Wednesday night, Hillary Clinton's running mate, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, delivered a primetime speech in which he spoke about the 9 months he spent with Jesuit missionaries in Honduras in 1980.
And let me tell you what really struck me there. I got a first-hand look at a different system, a dictatorship where a few people at the top had all of the power and everybody else got left out.
To talk more about the significance of Senator Kaine's time in Honduras, we're joined by Greg Grandin, professor of Latin American history at New York University. His most recent article for The Nation is headlined, "Eat, Pray, Starve: What Tim Kaine Didn't Learn During His Time in Honduras." Professor Grandin, welcome to Democracy Now! Talk about what you understand Tim Kaine did when he took a year off of Harvard Law School to go to Honduras and work with the Jesuits, through to the policies today.
Yeah, well, he spent about 9 months in Honduras, in El Progreso. It's a Jesuit mission, and he volunteered. He did pretty politically neutral work. By his own accounting, he taught carpentry and he taught welding. The Progreso mission is in the old region of the storied United Fruit Company. A lot of old company towns, banana plantation workers, former banana plantation workers. The industry in that area was already kind of in decline at that moment, and this was a very formative period in Tim Kaine's life, according to Tim Kaine. He calls it transformational. He said that it changed his life. It made him think more about poverty. It made him think more about social justice. And he's used his time in Honduras. He wasn't in political office until the late 1990s, municipal politics in Richmond, then mayor of Richmond, then he went on to be governor of Virginia and then senator. And pretty much every campaign, he's referenced his time in Honduras. Now, what's interesting about that is 9 months in 1980 Honduras is the equivalent of being in Weimar Germany in 1933. There was a lot going on, particularly if you were working with the Jesuits. The Jesuits were on the front lines of a lot of the changes that were taking place in Central America. There was, those insurrectionary wars, those revolutionary wars. The Sandinistas won in nearby Nicaragua in 1979, Guatemala, El Salvador. There was large insurgencies. They were as much Christian as they were socialist. The rise of liberation theology, the left-wing turn within the Catholic Church that was largely driven in Latin America had radicalized beyond just a concern for the poor, beyond just a concern for structural issues, to actually side with revolutionaries, to join the revolution. Not all Jesuits were revolutionaries. The order was in some ways torn by debates. It was a cauldron. There were massacres. Political repression started in Honduras. Ronald Reagan, when he won in 1980, appointed John Negroponte, who worked very closely with death squads in Honduras. People started to disappear. There were massacres of peasants. There was the beginning of the genocide in Guatemala. So these were very consequential years. There's no way that he could have spent 9 months in the center of this cauldron without coming away with the debates. And the debates within the Jesuit community, within that Jesuit mission in particular, was, should we side with the revolution, or should we slow it down? Should we be more conservative? And there were Jesuits on both sides of that debates within that mission. And what's interesting is that when Kaine comes back to the United States, there's no doubt that this had an impact on his life. There's no doubt when you listen to him speak about Honduras, he's sincere. He is concerned about the country, and I think this speaks to a split in the neoliberal mind. He reduces his time in Honduras to a series of platitudes. It would be as if somebody spent 9 months in Weimar Germany in 1933 and come back with the lesson that money can't buy happiness. I mean, that's literally what he said in one or paraphrasing something that he said in an interview on how Honduras impacted him. He was also asked how it made him think about the United States, and he said, well, Honduras was a dictatorship at the time, and it made me appreciate our system of government. So there's a way in which the structural analysis.
What was the U.S. role at the time in Honduras?
Well, that dictatorship that dictatorship that Kaine referenced was installed by the United States. It was many years old. It dated back to a coup that John F. Kennedy presided over after the Cuban Revolution. The JFK and LBJ administration set off a series of coups in order to contain the Cuban Revolution, and Honduras was one country. So that dictatorship can be traced back. That dictatorship that Kaine lived under could be traced back to U.S. patronage. But also at the time, in order to stem as a response to the Sandinista revolution, the Contra War was getting underway. Honduras was the front lines in that. Honduras, when Tim Kaine was there, was the third largest recipient of military aid in all of Latin America. Honduras, a country with, at the time, maybe 2-3 million people. So the U.S.
We only have 2 minutes, and I wanted to bring the policy from then to here.
Now.
In March, gunmen assassinated Berta Cáceres, the well-known Honduran indigenous dissident, winner of the prestigious Goldman Prize, environmentalist. In her home, she was killed. In 2014, she spoke about Hillary Clinton's role in the 2009 Honduran coup, and we have played that before. Of course, Hillary Clinton's Secretary of State at the time. Talk about Hillary Clinton's role and how now this will become a discussion because of Tim Kaine's experience with Honduras as well.
Well, it'll become a discussion in a way. Yes, Hillary Clinton helped legitimize and consolidate a coup that happened in 2009, much to the criticism of the rank and file of the Democratic Party, the left, people concerned with those issues. And during the primary, there was a lot of talk on your show. Juan Gonzalez asked her a question during his daily news interview with her. But for largely, she skated. Nobody, that debate was held on the margins. That the campaign is now front and centering Honduras is quite an audacious act, I think, right? And transforming Honduras from a real place in which people like Berta Cáceres, with a sharp political analysis of U.S. policy, gets transformed into a kind of an imaginary kingdom of bromides, of feel-good uplift, hence the title, Eat, Pray, Starve. The second consequence is that Tim Kaine supports free trade, and he has supported the militarization of Honduras. So yes, quickly, while he is decent on immigration and humane on immigration, even signing a letter recently calling for a halt of the horrible
5 seconds.
Deportations. He structurally supports the policies, free trade and militarization, that produce the poverty, the violence, and the immigration in Central America. So that's the split in the neoliberal mind that Tim Kaine represents.
Greg Grandin, I want to thank you for being with us, Professor of Latin American History at New York University, and that does it for our 2 weeks of Breaking with Convention. Special thanks to our fellow Pedro Rodriguez on his final day with us. All the best to you, Pedro. I'll be doing a report back from the conventions tonight, Friday, July 29th at Provincetown Town Hall in Massachusetts, and Saturday, July 30th at Martha's Vineyard Old Whaling Church. Check to marks now. Special thanks to the team here at Philly Cam, Laura Deutsch, Gretchen Klausing, Ryan Saunders, and to Mike Burke and Nermin Sheikh, Carla Wills, Laura Gaddis-Diener, Dina Guzder, Sam Alcoff, Jarina Nadura, Robbie Karen, Honey Massoud, Elizabeth Press, John Hamilton, Dennis Moynihan. I'm Amy